Hi, Ian Roberts and Mastering Composition. So normally, you know that I sort of find an image, decide how I'm going to crop it, look at the structure, do a drawing, and then the next week I usually make a painting of it. So this week I'm doing something a little differently. You know, if you were, say, trying to draw this Victorian house, you realize there are so many details there that you would really have to pay a lot of attention to the perspective and the proportions and everything like that to even hope to get it right. It would take a lot of effort to craft the form of that thing on a piece of paper. You'd have to really focus at it. Or like maybe a portrait would be the same thing. But this week I used this image, and this is how I cropped it. Now, this image is really just a few simple shapes, and it has lots of room for interpretation in terms of color and proportion and so on like that. So I'll begin by showing you how I painted it in, just like I normally would have. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to see if I can't do it more simply, if I can't sort of just abstract it even further. Because when we use the word abstract, really representational and non-representational is a much better expression because all paintings are abstract. I mean, you've got the three-dimensional world and we're abstracting it onto two. So in this case, I kept abstracting it, and I got the idea from Gerhard Richter. He had these 4 paintings, and you can see in the top left, it's quite a representational painting, foggy but representational, until by bottom right, he's just smushing the paint around. And I think it's being conceived as something that's seeing all 4 together. I didn't want to get it so abstract you didn't know what it was. I wanted it to be increasingly simple, increasingly abstract, but it was still representing the image. And in the end, I did 9 of them. So I'm going to show you a little section of my painting, the first one, little clips of 2 or 3 little bits and pieces of some of the subsequent ones, and then a very short sort of slideshow of just all 9 so you kind of see them all. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you at the end. So you can see that I'm taking colors here and adding them to the foreground. The foreground is like 2/3 of the painting, right? All these sort of dead grasses here in the winter. And so you can see I'm putting a lot of variety. Here there's quite a bit of alizarin, say, and then that dark behind it and the ochres and just this variety. Here there's sort of a dark blue purple. I just wanted a lot of variety, fairly small marks, but this variety to give this whole sense of complex foreground grasses. And here you can see the kind of attention I might take in making sure that the edges are soft, vertical in the way the trees are growing, but just sort of giving that sense of the trees, and then here putting in the tall grasses that are poking through the snow at the end. So you see there's a lot of attention to small shapes. You can see the articulation in the hill in the background. And then there's the finished painting. And you can see how much shift is there. Now here I decide, okay, I'm going to do it bigger. I'm going to do a bigger brush. It's just sort of a house painting brush, really. And you can see how it's got very kind of rough edges, and I kind of push those edges. You can see it up against the sky with that pink tree too. Push the edges there to soften the edges, and you kind of get that, I don't know, pretty natural looking quality to it. So here you can just see I'm putting it in pretty big shapes and just sort of getting started, and then I mix another one a little bit darker and kind of push it into that corner. So I'm getting, you know, I'm still getting that same shifts in color, but now just much bigger shapes than I was before. And there I'm just still softening the edges so things don't get too edgy. And there's that one. You know, all the pieces are there. And then this time, it's in bigger brush. It's 1.5 inches wide, I think. Just simpler, quicker, shifting the attention, you know, shifting the way I'm painting the hills in the background and the sky and so on like that. Bigger shapes. Because there's that one. That one I think was probably the least successful, actually. And then this one I sort of cranked the color a little bit more. And you can see this time I'm being pretty careful. Big brush, just kind of mushing it around here, but being a little bit more careful in the actual shapes that I want. And getting sort of a nice sort of, and it was pretty good color in this one as well. There's this one. The color's a little bit more cranked. And now I'm just sort of getting into really a pretty rough brush. And the background, the blue sky and that ochre color was a wash. And then I'm just putting the two whites in there. And there's that one. So I'm just kind of laying those big strokes on top of dry paint. And here's the same thing, sky and ochre in the background and just laying in the paint on top of it. And there's that finished one. So there's a quick slideshow of the 9 images. And you can see that all the things are in about the same place, and yet they all have slightly different characters. Some are better than others. It wasn't so much that this is a good one and that's not a good one, but it just offers a variety, that abstraction. So I hope you found that helpful. The main point is that there is an interplay between having to craft form and being attentive to that articulation and having a more two-dimensional sense of shapes and being able to push them in terms of and abstract them. So please do like this if you enjoyed it. Share it with your friends. Do sign up on my email list. You can get the link down below so you get this in your inbox every Tuesday. And I just think the main point is to recognize there's an interplay and to know which is which. Those times when you really just have to craft the thing and articulate it well, and those that lend themselves to more abstraction. And if you confuse them, you could be in trouble because you just sort of get lost in one or the other, and just recognize the difference between them, and when you're in each arena helps to know when to abstract and when to really form a definite articulated form. So I hope you found that helpful. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye for now.